Welcome back, race fans, for the very first full-length episode of the Armchair Racer podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Joe, alongside my co-host here,
Alex Reckless.
And we had something spectacular this weekend. We had the LA Clash at the LA Coliseum. I was a big fan of the race. I liked it.
It was a much better race than the first year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The racing was definitely way more competitive, way more aggressive, and a lot more entertaining than it was last year. I would have to say that I hope they come back next year.
They are going to.
Well, yeah, it's a 3-year deal. But, so we watched most of the race together.
Yep.
We watched the heats and the LCQs and the first half of the race. The heats were pretty interesting.
The heats were very aggressive.
Yeah.
Racing to make into the main and have a good starting position. There was a lot of beating and banging. They were very fast. After having a full year in these cars, it looks like they had them figured out. Also, it's their second time back at the track for most of their drivers, so they kind of understand the track. And, the parts situation that they had at last year's Clash, they don't have that, so they're not worried about breaking some cars. And so it was a very aggressive heat races.
Yeah. I know you didn't catch qualifying, not to backtrack a little bit, but the qualifying was pretty interesting because like all you heard during the qualifying when they were making the turns, because they just couldn't find any grip because the track got so cold. It was like a 25-degree drop from practice to qualifying.
Wow.
Which was almost a similar drop from the heat races to the main feature.
They were talking about the track being cold.
Yeah, and like last year was a lot hotter.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see Justin Haley grab the pole. Because Colleague, I like Colleague. They're really they do really well in the Xfinity Series, but last year was their freshman year. Nothing really too notable happened last year. But I hope they can finally be on the up and up. That's a smaller team that wants to win. You got teams like Vic Ware and Lift Fast, and they just, I don't know. I feel like they're completely content being where they are. But like Colleague, they want to be the next Hendrick Motorsports. They want to be the next RCR. They want to be that team that has the next 7-time champion.
Absolutely.
I hope that they can do well. The heat races were pretty interesting. Because it was the 4 groups of 8. 4 groups of 9. And you have the top 5 from each heat advance into the next feature, and then you had the remaining 16 divided into 2 groups of 8, and they were in the last chance qualifier.
Yeah.
And got to see some beating and banging. It looked like they were racing bumper cars out there. Because, you had Kevin Harvick out there who was pushing people out of his way. You had Noah Gragson pushing people out of his way. You had
Ty Gibbs
doing what Ty Gibbs does. You had a little rekindle of the Ross Chastain don't give a fuck tour when he took out Hamlin.
Yeah, the Chastain and Hamlin saga continued.
It does. I was surprised there wasn't much arguing outside of the cars after the race.
No, and I think that's it's an exhibition race. Yeah. So they knew they were going to be getting into each other, and it's not for points, it's for fun. So, do you get frustrated when you get wrecked? Yes. So, there were some retaliations within the race, and there were, some comments after, but no real fighting, because it wasn't... There was nothing to lose.
And I think the biggest proponent, aside from it being an exhibition race, is the fact that I think every driver is guilty of doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, you can't really call out someone, and you probably did the same thing. I was listening to the new Denny Hamlin podcast, and he was saying that he got a little heated at William Byron because he hit him, but then William Byron explained that he got hit by Harvick from behind him. So it was just a chain reaction of just...
There were so many instances of cars getting spun, but it was a whole like
It was like four
cars back. So many situations like that did happen as well in all the racing, especially in the main, in the second half.
Yeah. Now the second half, I'm not gonna lie. I had work early in the morning, and I after I got home from Alex's, I watched probably the first. I don't know, what was it, like the first maybe 10 laps, which was like the first like half hour after the first half hour after they went back racing, and I ended up falling asleep, not because it was boring. I was just really tired. I don't want anyone to say that I fell asleep during the race because it was boring. It was entertaining. I was just too tired.
It was, yeah.
But you know what surprised me? Where was Chase Elliott?
In the back.
He had that like really good LCQ race where he just took off, but he just couldn't get out of trouble during.
He took off because he had the best car out of all the cars that were in it.
He did.
But otherwise, he was in there because he had bad qualifying. He didn't make it through the. He didn't advance through the main. I think he had trouble in the main as well.
Yeah.
Or not in the main, in the heat.
The heat, yeah.
Which is why he was in the last chance, but then. Even advancing from that, you're in the back, and he's in the back of a fairly decent-sized field on a short track. And like any local track that's this size, or even at the regular NASCAR short tracks, if you're in the back, you're not going to get far. And if there's trouble in front of you, you're going to get caught in it, and that's what happened to Chase. And he just had a very lackluster clash.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what he did last year, but probably wasn't that great if I don't remember it.
No.
I will say, I like the racing. I like that short track. I like the beating and banging. I like just. It was pretty much just boys have at it.
It was.
And this is what NASCAR fans have been asking for, right? NASCAR fans have been begging NASCAR to race short tracks, go back to their roots, go back short track racing. So obviously. This race was really well received, right? No. It wasn't? You mean people are upset that NASCAR did almost exactly what they asked them to?
Because they're stupid.
Oh, it's because it's in LA. That's right. Even though they're still watching it from their TV because, NASCAR died when Dale died. Well, he died 20 years ago. What are you still doing here? Huh? I mean... People just love to complain about
they like
anything and everything.
NASCAR does what they want, and it's not what they wanted.
Exactly. Like this is the honest truth. Wiz Khalifa and Cypress Hill were there for the people that live in Los Angeles. The people that are going to that race live in that area. Mm-hmm. NASCAR didn't put it in the heart of NASCAR country to get new NASCAR fans. I mean, you have people saying that they should have us at Bowman Gray. First of all, Bowman Gray doesn't have the facilities to host a NASCAR Cup race.
You said what? There were at least 50,000. You read somewhere.
Yes, so I read that there was 50,000 fans in attendance at the Clash. Mm-hmm. About that number, and that's about 2/3 full of the stadium.
The Coliseum, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Bowman Gray holds at top 30,000 people, and maybe not even that many. It might be like 10,000. It's not a lot.
Nowhere close to what was even at the LA Coliseum.
And NASCAR racing in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, is not going to get them any new fans.
No.
They have to go into a new market and explore. So if you don't like the music choice, it's not for you. You're going to have that race that's next to you that's going to have that country singer. That's going to have that rock band that you like, This is for the people of LA to welcome our great sport to the people of LA.
17,000.
Oh, okay. Alex just looked it up. Bowman Gray holds 17,000.
Nowhere near the amount of people that were even at the LA Coliseum for the race, whether it was sold out or not.
And also, to backtrack a little bit, the 50,000 people in attendance in Los Angeles is twice as many as the attendance for the last Clash on the Oval, which was 20 to 25,000 at Daytona.
At Daytona?
You know what that looks like at Daytona?
Nothing.
Daytona holds like 125,000 people. You know what 20,000 looks like?
Nothing.
That's like 10%.
Yeah.
Of the stands. That looks visibly empty.
Empty, yeah.
You know? But just enjoy it, man. I mean, we finally had decent short track racing, you know? Yeah. I mean, yes, it was bumping and banging, and I don't know if you want to call it quote-unquote racing, but it was still fun and entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that said, NASCAR is not going to Fontana next year. It's not on there. NASCAR is not going back to Fontana next year because they don't have enough time to get that new track ready. And there were rumors going. I'll say the rumors because I didn't see anything happen from NASCAR.com or. I mean, I saw it from Jeff Gluck and Bob Pockrass, but NASCAR is debating going to the Coliseum next year as a points race. I don't think so. There's no way that you can get 36 cars because you have to get at least 36 cars on that track. Yeah. Because you can't send anyone home.
Yeah.
That should be there. I mean, if it's a points paying race, everyone has to be able to all 36 charters have to be able to participate.
I mean, they would get the points where they finish if they didn't make the LCQ. You know, if they didn't get past the LCQ.
I know.
But it's. I don't see them doing that.
I mean, you can't. You physically can't fit 36 cars on there. You can't fit 9 more cars than what you barely had room for 27 cars. I mean, there were times when someone spun out in turn 3, and the leaders are going to hit them.
Yeah,
you know, like, and they weren't that far back. That was like on like a restart that happened. That they were so close.
I know.
And the pace car couldn't get out in front. And how do you do like? Okay, you could. Kind of like mimic Bristol, like Dirt Bristol, do like those fake, like to do the non-active pit stops.
Yeah,
but there's still not a lot. There's still not enough room there.
No, there's.
And how much longer would you make the race?
Right. No, it's not. It's not possible. I think they just some people are trying to make rumors, but
there are some short tracks though, not too far from that area, like Irwindale.
That's the thing. There is also they're using the LA Coliseum to do short track racing in LA because Southern California does have a big short track following.
It does.
But they need a venue that can have the capacity like the LA Coliseum has.
Yes. On Door Bumper Clear earlier today, Irwindale was probably like their pick to go to if they don't go to Fontana next year.
Okay.
And I could agree with that. I mean, I don't always agree with them, but I think that would be a good alternative than going, or do Sonoma. Be green.
I wish they would do Sonoma when it's not in the dry season.
Mm-hmm.
Just move it.
Put it in the wet season. We have tires now.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. It was cool to see the cars on the track with the mud flaps and the wiper. You could see the wiper motor. They didn't have the wiper arms on the windshield.
They didn't need them.
But it was just funny to see that there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because now they're doing the damp for short tracks.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add about the Clash?
Do you want to talk about who surprised?
Oh, who surprised me? So I want to say the biggest one that surprised me, but then again at the same time didn't surprise me, would have to be Ryan Preece, because he is a short track driver. He races open wheel modifieds. That's his thing. That's his track.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. Like I said last week, I don't like him. I forgot all about that.
I mean, outside, Stewart Haas Racing, all the drivers didn't really perform last year until Harvick kind of had a little spark.
Yeah.
But they didn't perform, so no. He and Ryan Preece at this race ended up actually having the most laps led. He got up there at one point and did really good. And you know what? Why he didn't? He probably could have won. But he had electrical issues.
I think it was a fuel pump issue he had. Fuel pump. It was some electrical issue that he had.
Yeah.
So he still finished fourth or fifth?
Something.
I mean,
he recovered. He
did. I mean, I could look it up right here. Clash results. Let's see. He finished 7th.
Top 10. So yeah. He had a good race for a driver that we didn't think would be up there.
No.
One that didn't surprise me, but did really good was Kyle Busch.
Yes.
Actually, Austin Dillon kind of surprised me too.
Yes. I mean, Kyle even gave him the room because Kyle saw that Austin had the better car. Yeah. Kyle gave him the room, which that impressed me.
Kyle got caught up in an accident. It was in the back.
He was in the back. He was back up front.
He was passing people on the outside.
Yes.
In a second lane at a short track. He was saying because he was explaining like with the way this short track is and how we were saying people are getting spun out from guys 4 cars back bumping into each other. That mustache is horrible.
Austin, please get rid of it. It looks.
Grow out the whole thing again, or take the.
You're not Dale. I think you watch Top Gun a little bit too much, because it's not doing it for you. You're not. I mean, no homo. You're not an ugly guy. Just what are you doing?
The
Austin?
caterpillar.
Yeah, it literally.
So, as I was saying, back to Kyle Busch.
Yes.
Because everybody in the back was getting so stacked up on the inside, he was just going around the outside because he's that veteran driver and he knows what to do.
Yeah.
And he ended up finishing 3rd. He got the bronze. And one driver that didn't surprise anybody that got the win was Martin Truex Jr., who was fastest in practice and just all around outperformed everybody at the Clash. So
was that Truex?
Yeah,
I didn't hear what you said.
Martin Truex Jr.
Truex, yeah.
A win for New Jersey.
I mean,
which we have our own great short track Wall.
Yes, we have Wall. Yeah, well, fuck it. Why don't they bring the Clash to Wall? Could you imagine?
Because you can't even fit like 10 people.
I know.
I wish Wall would make the track a little bigger. There's all that property over there.
There's a lot of property there.
Anyway, okay, so that's kind of the Clash.
One thing I did want to add, which kind of shocked me. I was thinking about this last night when I was making the notes, and I was like, you know what would be interesting? What if they were to apply PJ1? I know everyone hates it, but what if they were to apply PJ1 on the outside? So that you could have more grip and you could have, better. You could have a passing lane on the outside. You could have your inside lane and then your outside lane.
Then Kyle Busch would have won.
And Kyle Busch would have won. I mean, Ryan Preece probably could have came back after that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then even Denny Hamlin mentioned that on his podcast yesterday morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was.
It would probably make it work because it's slow enough. Like you would get the grip there, and. Again, talking about Kyle Busch racing his way through the field, he was passing on the outside just because the inside was so slow in the back. So if you had more grip on the outside, then even when the speeds are when they're a little spaced out in the front and speeds are a little more similar, you would have more side by side racing.
Yeah. All right, so let's see what do we have up next? We have. Actually, you know what? Before we go into that, I want to talk about Bubba Wallace.
Okay, from the Clash?
From the Clash.
Okay.
How can people hate... I mean, I guess it doesn't make sense. It only makes sense...
He did well at the Clash.
He did do well. I don't get the hate he gets. I don't like him. I'm not a fan of Bubba Wallace. I'm not.
I have a Bubba Wallace hat.
I
have a Bubba Wallace hat.
I'm not a fan of him. I think he does some stupid things. But at the end of the day, he's still a decent driver and a decent ride. Mm-hmm. He's still a human being. You know what I mean? The hate that he gets is it's just really repulsive. And I hate that hate because it makes me defend him. You know?
Yeah.
I stop making me defend the guy that I don't like. You know what I mean? I mean, how many times on Facebook did you see someone share the picture of him sitting in his car?
He's sitting in his car.
He lost. Of course he's going to be upset.
He
has every right to be upset.
He got spun out from racing for the lead.
Yeah.
He got dumped. I mean, you could say more or less he got hit from the back from Austin Dillon and he spun out. Was that the first contact? No, they were going into each other, but he didn't wreck Austin Dillon. If he wrecked Austin Dillon, then everybody would be down.
Exactly.
It's the same thing.
Exactly. But it's like, it's no wonder that people hate Bubba Wallace when NASCAR's most popular driver for the last 5 years has the personality of cardboard.
Yes.
I mean, I love Chase.
He's a good driver.
He's a good driver. I mean, I feel like he'd be cool to hang out with, but when he's in front of the camera, he He just has the personality of, like, yeah, it was a good race. I just hate it for my guys. I mean,
yeah,
it's just it's boring. At least Bubba has personality, and like just give the guy a break. Like, just it's okay to not like someone, but these people just let Bubba live rent free in their heads. You know
because
what I mean?
they have a lot of hate,
And I'm afraid a lot of it is what we both know it is.
It's
But it's just like you just gotta chill on it, all right? I mean, the more I see more people. I see people that hate Bubba talk more about Bubba than people that actually like Bubba.
People complain about Bubba being shoved down their throats, but the posts I see about him aren't from NASCAR.
No,
they are from them.
Yeah, exactly. It's them always talking about it, and then like there'll be a NASCAR post that has nothing to do with Bubba Wallace, absolutely nothing, and then there'll be the comment, "Oh wow, I'm surprised you're not trying to shove Bubba Wallace on our throats." Like, well, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Like, yeah. It just all right. I just had to get that out there into the air. Next up, we have the Great American Race, the Daytona 500.
First points race, NASCAR is back.
Yes, NASCAR will officially be back. We have a pretty extensive entry list. Where did it go? There it is. We have a pretty extensive entry list for the 500 this year. We have what did I do? As of 6:55 p.m. on February 7th, there's 6 drivers that are going to be racing their way into the 500. You have, and this is going to be in numerical order, based on their number. You have Chandler Smith from the Truck Series racing the 13 car for College Racing. You have Zane Smith from the Truck Series, defending series champion, racing for Front Row Motorsports in the 36 car. You have Connor Daly, this was just announced today. He's going to be racing the 50 car for the Money Racing team. He's an Indiana boy. It's
not this car, but it's this team.
Yes.
But this is the
Pit Viper. I mean, I wish it was Pit Viper, but it's not. I believe when he raced the Roval, he started with he raced for the Money team.
Who? Connor?
Connor, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't. I mean, he could race an Indy car at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and going 234 miles an hour with open wheels. He could race a car at Texas. I say he's qualified for this race.
Absolutely.
Then you have Austin Hill and the Beard Motorsports Chevrolet, the number 62. He's pretty good at super speedways, and he has a win there. He has 2 wins at super speedways last year.
Okay.
And that Beard Motorsports car always seems to be fast.
Yeah.
You have Travis Pastrana in the 67 car for 2311, racing for Black Rifle Coffee Company. And then you have the GOAT, Jimmy Johnson, in the 84 car for Legacy Motor Club. I know.
How many cars go home?
So, there are 6 cars in. 4 cars go in. 2 cars are going home. The two fastest in qualifying.
Yeah.
The 2 fastest open cars, they're locked in. And then the other 4 have to race their way in.
Okay.
For 2 spots.
So 2 go home.
2 go home. So we have.
Is this touchscreen?
No. Sorry. So we have
right.
Chandler Smith.
Goes home.
We have Zane Smith.
Goes home.
So you're saying Connor Daly, Austin Hill, Travis Pastrana, and Jimmy Johnson make it?
Yeah.
You're putting Connor Daly over. I'm saying it wrong. Connor Daly. Daly. That's right. I don't know what I'm pronouncing weird. Sorry, Connor. So you're saying that Connor Daly, who's never raced at a super speedway before, is going to beat defending Truck Series champion Zane Smith. I just want to make sure that that's what you're saying.
I think it's possible.
Okay. Because I am going to go even more out there than what you're doing, and I think Jimmy's going to get the pole. If not the pole, he's going to get the front row. He's accustomed to the front row at Daytona. Granted, it's not a Hendrick car, but he's familiar with being in that front row.
We don't know how that car is going to be. He's a great driver, but we don't know what kind of power that car is going to have.
His last unofficial win was at Daytona. At the Clash. Remember when he caused the big wreck?
No.
No, you don't remember that? I think it was the 2020 Clash.
Okay.
Or it was either that or no, it was 2019.
No, 2020 was the road course on the Clash, wasn't it?
No, it's 21.
Oh. No.
Yeah, because it's 23.
Oh yeah.
22 was LA. 21 was the road course.
2020.
Yeah.
I think he will qualify good. I mean, I don't think he'll have a front row start.
Do you want to put money on it?
Sure.
How's $20?
Okay.
That Jimmy will start on the front row.
Okay.
All right. Don't let me down, Jimmy.
Okay. Who's your front row?
Who's my front row?
Who's your front row?
Jimmy and Noah.
That would be a nice one. That would be great.
I would say it's going to be Jimmy and Elliott.
Okay.
Or it's going to be a Hendrick driver.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that. It's either going to be Elliott or Byron.
I was going to say Byron because he qualifies well.
He does.
He qualifies well. I was going to say Byron. Hendrick tends to sweep the front row a lot recently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Byron and Larson.
Larson? Okay.
I would say Elliott would as well, but I think Larson will do pretty good.
Do you think it's possible that Hendrick locks up the two front rows? The first two rows?
They did that once, didn't they?
Yeah.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
So you think Elliott's struggles from the Clash is going to continue over into Daytona?
I'm not saying he won't qualify well, but...
Well, I mean, honestly, if you're not qualifying on the pole, on the front row, unless you're an open car, that's not really well.
He could qualify 5th.
Doesn't mean anything.
That's still really good. It's just not the first 2 rows.
Well, you know what they say, if you're not first, you're last.
I mean, he could race his way to the second row, but
he could do that. He could.
Qualifying? I mean, are you saying racing or qualifying?
I'm saying qualifying.
Yeah, I don't think Hendrick will take the 2 rows.
Okay. All right. So we got our front row, and we got who are the 2 open cars that locked themselves in?
Lock in?
That lock in based on time.
Jimmy,
yeah, I can. Obviously, I agree with that. We got Jimmy. We got Travis, Austin. I'm gonna say that it's gonna be Austin Hill and Jimmy Johnson are gonna lock their way in.
I was gonna say Austin.
Yeah, I think those are the 2.
Yeah.
Because think about this for Travis Pastrana. You know how many? You know how much seat time Travis Pastrana has in a next gen car at a Cup Series racetrack?
0.
He has to shift that thing perfectly off pit road.
He's used to sequential shifters.
He is. I'm saying, but like the first time that he's going to be on the track is going to be his qualifying lap. There's no practice.
There's no practice.
There's no practice.
Oh.
So the first time, that's another thing. So the first time these guys get on track,
that's all of them.
Jimmy raced at Phoenix. He tested at Phoenix.
Okay, but Travis, Austin,
and he's also
Connor.
I'm pretty sure he's already had seat time in the 56 car.
Yes, Garage 56.
So
yeah,
I mean,
other than Jimmy, all of these go or go homers, all their first seat time.
Yes.
So
I think Austin Hill. No, Austin Hill has Austin Hill and Jimmy Johnson are the only one.
Okay.
Are only ones with seat time.
Oh, okay.
And then just announced today that Todd Gilliland is not going to be racing the full season.
Really?
In the 38 car. It's going to be split with, I believe it's going to be split with Zane Smith.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
They just announced that?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I can pull it up.
I mean, no, I believe you.
Well, no. I just want to make sure. Where is it? It's not on the NASCAR website.
I mean, both of those drivers and those teams aren't really headlining.
Let's see what we got here. As my laptop takes off to outer space. News. Okay, I don't like this website, but this is true. So Front Row Motorsports made a shocking announcement on Tuesday afternoon that eliminates one of the 34 full-time drivers from the NASCAR Cup Series for now. That's such a clickbaity lead into something.
Yeah.
So Zane Smith is going to drive the 36 car for Daytona. However, he will also compete in the 38 car for up to 6 races during the season: Phoenix, Talladega, Sonoma, Texas, and the Charlotte Roval. And one more race will be added.
Pretty good mix.
Mm-hmm. And Todd Gilliland will race the other 30.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sucks.
Because getting told you're going from full time to part time.
Yeah, like it would have been one thing if they split it, but like only 6 races.
I guess they want to get Zane in some seat time, but
yes, but like I don't know, that just really sucks. Because if you look at it, he's racing. Because like Daytona, like he's not sure he's gonna race Daytona. So you have a short track, you have a super speedway, you have a road course, you have a 1.5 miles, and then you also have the Roval.
It's just a mix. It's just seat time.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that other race would be a real short track, not Phoenix, which is
not really a short track.
A mile of intermediate dressed up as a short track.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that came out today. Also, Kyle Busch made headlines yesterday.
So what was that?
So I saw. Let me see if I can find the original article that I found.
Because why is it making headlines now if it's?
I was surprised that got held up as long as it did. Let's see, can I find the original? It was like some Cancun website that I first saw it on. I'm like, okay, there's no way that's real, because it was like, big time NASCAR driver gets arrested in Cancun. I'm like, he was in LA. What the fuck's he doing in Cancun?
Yeah. I know he was there over the summer.
Yeah. So this is from Yahoo, which I guess is a bit more, reputable. But apparently, 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch was arrested and detained in Mexico in January after a handgun was found in his bag and his wife Samantha boarded a private jet. Now, originally, it was a man originally from Nevada identified as Kyle Thomas B. was credited with full responsibility in the commission of a crime of carrying a firearm without a license and possession of cartridges for the exclusive use of armed forces. Now, Mexico's gun laws are a bit different than ours in the United States and New Jersey. Civilians can't carry.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Busch has a concealed carry license.
Mm-hmm.
So he said that he forgot that it was in there. I mean, as some that's kind of careless. I mean, you should kind of know where that is. I mean, that's a big deal.
I mean, you're packing your bag.
I think what the thing was that they were originally flying into a private airport, and it didn't matter. But when they flew back, they had to fly through a public airport.
And they went through.
And that's when it got checked.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it said, this is the crazy part. The prosecutor general's office said Busch was arrested January 27th and sentenced Monday to 3.5 years in prison and fined $1,100. $1,100.
Yeah, nothing. That's U.S. dollars.
Yeah, exactly. Like $1,100. That's not 1,100 pesos. That's $1,100.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
For him?
Yeah, like
it's like, okay.
Even if that was me, I'd be like, oh, all right, that means I don't go to jail. Like, here you go. Like, I mean,
it's prison and 1,100.
Yeah, and then Kyle Busch had released a statement last night saying, in late January, Samantha and I enjoyed a several-day vacation in Mexico. When departing the country, my handgun was flagged during routine screening at the airport. I have a valid concealed carry permit from my local authority and adhere to all handgun laws, but I made a mistake by forgetting it was in my bag. Discovery of the handgun led to my detainment while the situation was resolved. I was not aware of Mexican law and had no intention of bringing a handgun into Mexico. When it was discovered, I fully cooperated with the authorities, accepted the penalties, and returned to North Carolina. I apologize for my mistake and appreciate the respect shown by all parties as we resolve the matter. My family and I consider this issue closed.
So he's not doing any jail time?
I guess not. I guess he just is not going to Mexico anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we also know that Mexico is Mexico when it comes to like the government and police are very corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he probably paid him a bit more than $1,100.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how. This was just a comment I saw making a joke about this, but someone was like, he probably got it because of that whole that mall shooting.
Yeah, because he was there.
Someone said
that's probably
said like, I think you could see like records and like he got it shortly after that.
I mean, I don't blame him.
No.
I mean, I don't. I mean, to be in a situation like that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And that would kind of make sense why he would forget it because that was only last year. You know, doesn't sound like that's just a mistake a seasoned concealed carry person would not make.
Yeah.
You don't just forget that it's in there.
Like you said, he probably.
Yeah, he probably brought it in. I mean, hey, he's going to fucking Mexico. I mean,
if he's going to a resort, and if you stay at the resort, then
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But hopefully that's it.
Yeah, I want to see him win a championship, so I don't want him to be in jail.
Yeah. Yes, I want to see him win. I want to see him win the 500. So let's wind this back a little bit. let's get back to Daytona. We're over in Cancun. Let's get back to the sunny beaches of Daytona Beach, and we have. Oh, I done goofed. I got rid of the document. All right, so let's bring it back to Daytona. We're a nice sunny beach, Daytona, Florida. We have the race coming up. We already discussed the entry list. We already discussed who we think is going to stay. We already discussed who we think is not going to make it. We also discussed what we haven't discussed is the duels. So, do you think the duels are going to be aggressive, or do you think they're going to be a bit more reserved?
No.
I asked two questions and he gave me one answer.
I know. Not aggressive, reserved.
You think it's going to be reserved?
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is that they're going to be really aggressive at first. Someone's going to wreck out. And then they're just going to go single file the rest of the way.
That's what always happens, but I don't even think...
Which is why we don't go to Daytona anymore for the Clash, because that's what happens. You have amazing racing at the start, somebody wrecks, and then it's single file to the very end.
Yeah. They're just going to sneak around. And that's gonna happen at the 500 too.
Who do you think? I mean, we can't really pick a winner because we don't know who's going to be in which one. But if I were to give you four guys you think could win it.
The clashes?
No, we just have the Clash, the duels.
That's what I meant. The duels?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Kyle Busch is going to win a duel.
It's possible.
And
anybody can win a duel.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Anyone
can win the Daytona 500. It's a super speedway.
Yes.
That's what I'm like.
Rant. Let it out.
I'm really not that big of a fan of the super speedways. Like, it doesn't take talent at all. Yes, there's some guys that do know how to, like, manage the pack in the air, but there's so many first-time winners and one-time winners that are just super speedways because they're easy. It's the Daytona 500. The only thing that makes it popular is that it's the first race and it's the first super speedway, but it's nothing special.
I really hate to agree with you. I like super speedway races have just become such a crapshoot lately. I kind of have to agree.
You can't really pick a winner because someone could dominate the whole race and then get wrecked out because at the very end because they're going for the win.
All right.
And then anybody can win.
I do have a little bit of a revised winner predictions here for
Okay.
Daytona. So, who do you think is overdue for a 500 win? And don't just say anyone.
Denny.
Overdue?
Oh, overdue?
I think he's 3 times underdue.
Overdue?
Overdue. Who do you think is overdue? I want to say
Who's racing that has a win?
Kyle Busch.
He won a 500?
Who's overdue for a 500 win?
He won a 500?
No.
All right, so I was just saying, who's racing that has a 500 win?
Sorry. I thought you didn't hear me, and I actually didn't hear you. Okay, so who's racing that has one?
Harvick.
Denny Hamlin.
He doesn't have a win. Oh, yeah, he does have a win.
He has 3.
I'm sorry.
That's the only thing he does have. Well, I mean, he has his crown jewels, but he doesn't have a championship. So you have Harvick, Hamlin. You have Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric. Who else has won one?
I think that's it.
Really? Wait a minute. No, that can't be. Well, Jimmy Johnson has
Okay,
2.
so he's back.
Truex didn't win it, right?
Has Logano won? Did Truex? I think Truex has a win, a 500.
No, he got edged out by Hamlin.
Okay.
That's when he was still when he was in the 78.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Keselowski? No.
No, he doesn't have one. Because I was gonna say like overdue for 500 was gonna be Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Ryan Blaney.
Kyle Busch needs to get that win.
He does.
Was it 20 years of frustration, 20 years of trying?
20 years of frustration. 20 years of trying. 20 years of frustration. But I think it's.
He's in RCR now. He's.
But he has been racing for 20 years. I think he's been racing for 18 because I want to say his rookie year was 2005. So yeah, 18 years.
Okay.
Man, there's really. I never realized that. I never noticed that.
That's
how little winners. I gotta pull it. I gotta pull this up for myself. So if you want to talk about something, go ahead because I'm gonna go. Oh no, because it's right here. So we have recent winners.
Jesus.
You have Austin Cindric. Oh, Austin Dillon. So you have Austin's. What? Oh, that's just Daytona. That's not the 500.
Yeah. I remember he won the 400 once.
Let's see. Can we just? Yeah, you know what? Sorry about that. I'm trying to find out. Wikipedia, of course. Yeah, I gotta go there again.
Wikipedia is great.
So you have Austin Cindric, Michael McDowell,
2 first-time winners.
Denny Hamlin, Austin Dillon.
So he did win a 500.
Who?
Dylan.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Joey Logano.
Logano does have. Right. And then that's it. Everybody else is old.
Oh my God. There's only 5 winners. 6 winners in the field with Jimmy Johnson. That's crazy. Because Kurt Busch retired.
Junior's retired.
Junior retired. Matt Kenseth retired. Trevor Bayne's not full-time. McMurray retired. Kenseth retired. Newman retired. Jeff Gordon retired. Wow, that's crazy. Well, then maybe just anyone can just win it then, Alex. What button? Gatskis Loda.
I mean, does Ward have a lot of wins? But he somehow has a Daytona 500.
Let's see. Ward Burton. He has 1 500, and he has 5 wins. That's 5 more than you, Alex.
I know.
That's 5 more than me.
There are only a few drivers that were just really good at super speedways.
So,
but otherwise, it's
back to my question: who do you think is due for a 500? Doesn't have to be just one.
Who's
been really good at super speedways, but just can't get that 500 win? I would say top of that list would be.
See now, Kyle, I would say Kyle's due for one, but he's not really always good.
Because Ryan Blaney's really good at super speedways.
He does well.
And he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that win yet.
Truex Jr.
Truex, yes, he's been there. He's been. I think he's finished second.
I want to see Bubba win the 500.
I think he'll get one eventually.
He does well.
He does. He does well at super speedways. Just going to be interesting to see who works with him and who doesn't work with him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's just.
All right. Who do you think? Who's your dark horse? Like, who's your long shot?
My long shot?
Yeah. Your long shot of a driver.
Because I could say Bubba, but like he does well at super speed races.
That's not a long shot.
No, it's not. Cody Ware.
Cody Ware. Where?
Suarez.
Suarez?
Yeah, he
okay.
does well. I mean, he does okay.
I'd say Corey LaJoy. That'd be my long shot, my dark horse. Corey LaJoy. And then...
Corey LaJoy is just in because of his name.
I mean, yeah. Who do you want? Who you want Kyle Busch to win? You want Kyle Busch to win. I can kind of... I mean, I want Jimmy to win, but if he can't, I want...
I mean, okay. You can kind of consider Jimmy to be a dark horse because he's a go or go homer. He's not doing a full season. Usually, when you see these guys that don't do a full season, even as a legend that Jimmy is, they don't always perform.
Trevor Bayne won the 500 that way.
And yeah, so you could consider Jimmy a dark horse.
Okay.
And I guess I would say, I could put him as my dark horse because, he has the ability to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, let's say any other race, that he might be doing, I don't, he might not be able to perform because even in his last year in full time, or a couple years, I think, didn't do so good.
Okay. So you want to put I was thinking about this the other day, about Jimmy Johnson. So, when we went to Dover,
yeah,
that last minute, decision to go to Dover, which was our first race together, and Jimmy Johnson won. You know what year that was?
No.
That was 2017.
Wow.
That was his last points-paying win. He retired in 2020. It's 2023.
It's been a long time since he got a win.
It's been a very long time.
He's overdue. I think he does have a chance to win the 500. If he's gonna get a win in this part-time season, it's this race.
Mm-hmm. I don't see. I mean, I know he was kind of lackluster in IndyCar. He did show speed at the ovals. I don't think he does this because he thinks it could be cool. I feel like he has to redeem. I feel like he has to redeem himself. You know what I mean? Because he didn't go out. He had a shitty exit of NASCAR. He had a shitty time in IndyCar.
He didn't go out in style.
No, he didn't. And I mean, you had COVID. You had everything, and terrible.
As opposed to
terrible.
As opposed to Jeff.
I will say that Jeff Gordon, out of many athletes, not just NASCAR, he probably had the best send-off out of any big goat athlete. You know what I mean?
When
he went out on top. I mean, he won a championship, but he went out in the Final Four.
For a championship. He's had wins in his last season, and when he filled in a few times, he had good finishes.
He did.
He still showed that he was fast and could drive.
Like if Funts were to ever to do of the best final seasons of athletes, Jeff is definitely going to be out there for me.
Yeah,
because I mean that he put together a really good season there, and that win at Martinsville,
that That was huge.
You kind of knew. I feel like everyone celebrating knew that was his last win. I mean, realistically, that was probably his last win. I mean, he did have he did do well at Homestead. But I mean,
that was still at Homestead's right. That's never really a strong track for him either.
No, so I mean, people probably thought like that's probably it. Because like even when Tony Stewart got his win at Sonoma, people were kind of all right. This might be the last one.
Yeah.
But when we saw Jimmy win, that was not on our mind.
No, you're right.
Like I had going to that race, going home, even the rest of that year, I wouldn't think, oh, we saw Jimmy's last win. Mm-hmm. You know, like that. He had. I think we gotta give it time. But he's like one of the greatest talents to ever be in a race car. Yeah. And he's probably the most overlooked driver ever.
Jimmy.
A
lot of NASCAR fans like to discredit his 7 championships because of the point system that he had.
It changed every year because of him.
Right. But it's harder to win.
Yeah.
In the times that he won, instead of winning 2 races before the season's over because he just ran consistent.
He ran so well during the season. I mean, he had a little bit of like a summer slump. But I mean, he ran well all season and then just accrued so many points that when the chase started, he was up top, you know?
Yeah. Jimmy is he's a GOAT. He's a 7-time champion. He's up there with the other drivers.
And him and Chad, you know, I mean that's aside from
what Chad has done for Hendrick Motorsports and NASCAR and Jimmy, he is a legend.
Oh yeah. And I know I'll piss off the boomers for this because you have Richard Petty and Dale Inman, but I mean Richard Petty raced against no one's. And he raced multiple times a week.
He raced against your local yokel.
Yeah. I mean, and if you look at his stats,
once it became sanctioned.
Yes, once it became sanctioned, he didn't do that well.
No.
Granted, he was older, this and that, yada yada. But once there was actual competition, like if they like he was still like the only guy that ran the full season, you know. Mm-hmm. Like I think David Pearson ran 5 full seasons, and I think he has 3 championships. You know how many full seasons Richard Petty? I mean, I don't know how many it was, but I mean, that number is a lot different. Mm-hmm. He raced every year. He raced for a championship, and he didn't always win it.
Right.
Where's I going with this? But I would say that Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus is the best driver crew chief combo of all time. Mm-hmm. You could say they cheat, of course. Of course they did.
Everybody did.
Everybody cheats. If you're not cheating, you're not going forward.
I guarantee everybody that says they cheated and hate them for that is a big fan of Everham.
Yeah.
And he cheated with Jeff all the time.
Who do you think taught Chad?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I mean, Ray Everham was a big influence on Chad. I mean, Chad was on Jeff's team.
Yeah.
And then Ray, I believe Chad left first, and then Ray left. And then when Jeff brought on Jimmy, Jeff brought on Chad.
I thought Chad was always with Hendrick.
No, he left for a little bit, and then he came back.
Okay.
And then when he came back to Hendrick, he came back to Jimmy as the crew chief, and Jeff picked him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to give it time, but I think he deserves to be on that Mount Rushmore of NASCAR drivers.
He absolutely is.
Like, and he's and this is another thing that I kind of want to talk about. He is definitely a first-time ballot Hall of Famer.
Yes. Now, that's this year, right?
That's the thing. What if he decides to go back full-time?
Isn't it still just he can get in based on just on his age?
I think he has to be over 50.
How old is he?
He's still in his 40s.
Okay.
But yeah, based on age, I mean, he's gonna be in there no matter what. I mean, It doesn't matter if it's gonna be now or if he comes back for 2 more years and he retires again. Mm-hmm. He's gonna be in there regardless. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think it would be cool that if a Hall of Fame racer goes back racing, that there should be like a little like decal on the car. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like maybe like a Hall of Fame decal like around where the NASCAR logo is. You know?
Yeah, on the A pillar or by the name somewhere.
Just that'd be cool. Like Junior could do that when he goes races in the Xfinity Series. You know, just put a little Hall of Fame decal either like next to the name or on the A pillar. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah,
you know?
Very.
Because I mean, you're racing
a Hall of Famer.
A Hall of Famer. You know, like it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that brings us to Jimmy. That brings us to Daytona. Do you want to do our first segment?
Yes.
All right. So Alex and I frequent the internet a lot, and we meet a lot of idiots on the internet, and
come across a lot of
DARFs. Now, if you don't know what a DARF is, a DARF stands for dumbass race fan. Anyone could be a DARF. I'm sure, when I was younger, I was definitely a DARF. I loved Dale Jr. I hated Kyle Busch. I mean, Kyle Busch could do nothing good. Like Kyle Busch I just had those typical DARF tendencies when I was a kid. But you know what happened? I grew up and I matured.
Some of these
are still stuck with that same mindset that I had when I was 12.
They talk like they're 12.
Yes. And so we want to have the segment called DARF Comment of the Week. Eventually, what I would like to happen is that you guys could tweet us. Mm. Maybe you're a DARF. Maybe you're a DARF that's watching this. I want you to tweet us your DARF comment. So, and this week we have a comment.
This was shared by somebody else on the NASCAR shitposting page.
Yes. Now, this is something to do with Bubba Wallace, I would have to assume. I mean, or it could have been something completely not against.
Well, the comment itself that this comment is under.
Yes. So, like, the actual post is out of... This is out of context, to be fair.
We found this screenshot.
So, this isn't the DARF comment. I would actually say this is a bit more of a nicer comment.
It's a pretty general comment.
It says, LOL, history says you're wrong. However, if Bubba could actually win on the track, I'd have a lot more respect for him. As far as Bubba hate, that's pretty well balanced right there,
Yeah.
I could almost agree with that, but I mean, I know he has the talent, I still just don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
But some boomer replied to this guy with... Now I'm gonna show it on the screen here, and I'm gonna try my best to read this. Well, he could all woke China socialism demo NASCAR owner George Soros will make sure he come a champion of NASCAR. That why he bought it. He said it was too white NASCAR. He thinks he would fill up those seats with black people. Never happened. He wins some races this year, too much money behind him not to win. Now, the most incredible part about that whole thing was that he was able to come out with a coherent statement at the very end, which is too much money behind him not to win, which is true. There's too much money not to win behind, I would say, at least 20 drivers in the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, what even is that?
I mean, China in here.
You got China and George Soros and since when did George Soros buy NASCAR?
I don't know.
The last time I checked, the France family still owns NASCAR.
Right.
But this is just a sample of some of the stuff that you just see in these NASCAR posts. It just literally does not make sense. This was so bad that I thought it was a fake account.
Mm-hmm.
But the account seemed to be made in 2015, and there's some regular post on it. So
that person exists. And
that's a real person that's out there, that's living out there. That is
probably talking like this.
Yeah, I feel like he kind of did voice speech to text.
Yeah,
because or he just can't spell.
Both.
Because some words are I don't even know what OLW even is. He could all woke China social. It sounded like he was just talking into his phone, because I think the phone was even confused by what he was saying.
But what's he could all woke China? Who's he woke China? So, There's just
Is
half
that,
words.
is that Democrat or demon?
I don't know.
Democ.
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 Them Democs.
Them Democ NASCAR or George Stores. That's crazy. But to start wrapping things up here, please tweet us at Fun's Podcast #ACRP, and we would love to read your tweets.
Yes. Let us know how bad we are.
Yes.
Let us know any dark comments that you come across.
Yes, we love the hate, so bring it on. Or bring on the love. We could take both. We got pretty thick skin.
I love everybody.
I hate everyone.
I hate everyone.
So starting to kind of get this longer episode kind of wrapped up here. There's no racing this weekend. We got the Super Bowl. But I do plan on having an episode out next week. That episode is going to be more of a introduction to Alex and I, and kind of how we became friends, how a little bit more just about us, so you guys can meet us. There goes that Mustang.
Yep.
So that you guys can meet us, and you get to know us a little bit more than you already do, or you don't know us from a hole in the wall. So that will be next week's episode, because we have a pretty long history together, I'd say. Connected through NASCAR.
Absolutely.
And next week we'll touch on that. We'll as more news breaks and as more stuff comes out, we'll get that out to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as that goes, I am Tommy Joe, alongside with
Alex Reckless.
And rock and roll. Oh yeah.
Raise
hell, praise Dale.
I was gonna say raise hell, praise hell.